What's up, everyone? This is Christian Duke. You're watching Strength Addicts on IGTV, Facebook, all throughout the net. All coverage brought to you courtesy of Blackstone Labs. We got the Trojan horse right here. And we are joined by the man himself, Mr. Dan Dillon, also known as the mayor of bodybuilding. We had some technical difficulties with Zoom, so we're just gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Welcome, Dan.
Thanks, man. I appreciate the patience. I appreciate the welcome, man. It's exciting.
Awesome. And so we're here on Strength Addicts TV, which is like a page that hardly anybody knows about. Gabby's in the house, new IFBB Pro. So she discovered what's going on. But I want to ask you, you sent me some photos for the graphic that people are going to see tomorrow when this comes out. It's going to come out Friday night at Strength Addicts and everywhere.
Nice.
Yeah. So you have a competitive background, it looks like, because you sent me one shot where you were in very, very good shape, competitive shape. Did you compete initially?
I did 3 small contests early on in my life. The last show was in '91, and I was pretty proud of that. I got down to like 165. I was a little heavy, so I said, you know what? The best way to lose weight, I signed up for a show. I invited 20 people, and now I had no choice. I had to diet, and it was thrilling. I mean, I was waiting for like Joe Weider to come out because I felt so fulfilling to do the 16 weeks, never cheated. And I looked the best that I could look, and that's really what the sport's all about, is being your best. And I felt like Mr. Olympia, no doubt.
That's awesome. And you have such a huge knowledge of bodybuilding and the sport, and you're very active on the message boards. Of course, I always see you at the Muscle Developments. I don't know if you're at RX or the other ones, but you seem to be a very big MD guy, and that's like family, it seems like.
Yeah, I met Steve Bleckman over 20 years ago at Gold's Gym in Port Jeff Station. I lived maybe a half hour from Steve, and he was just cool. He was down-to-earth guy, and he asked us about the magazine, and we talked for a little while, and I always got along great with Steve, and I always bought all the magazines, and I just found something I really enjoyed, man. I'm very lucky.
That's awesome. And I met you and your son at the Arnold, I think like 3 years ago or something like that, with Greg Valentino, and I mean, I've never seen anyone like, well, I'm like you, but you're just so much, you have so many years in this. I mean, you've seen so many different eras, and I'm sure that bodybuilding today is, and that's not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. It's just like, but I'm sure that bodybuilding is way different than it was like, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, people tend to live in the past. I do a little bit of both. I mean, I saw some great shows, Night of Champions, which is very rarely talked about, a unique contest. It was like Game 7 of the World Series. That's the atmosphere it was, so it was unique. But I don't knock today, though. It's a different look. They want the guys bigger. The judges want them bigger, so they do get bigger. So I enjoy the guys today as much as yesteryear. I mean, they're all pretty much gentlemen. They're decent guys, and it's the people that really keeps me around the sport. I've met a lot of great people. I really enjoy that part of it.
Everybody is allowed to disagree, and, a lot of things happen behind closed doors. So that's nothing that we're going to talk about here. But with regards to being a promoter, because I know you mentioned that the NOC was a very special thing. How would you describe Wayne Demilly as a promoter? Not obviously, because, we're both very big NPC, so we're not speaking about what's happened after that time. But during the heyday of the NOC, what was that show like under his guidance, leadership?
You couldn't sleep the night before. That's how good it was. He had the athletes, so it was the perfect storm. He had the phenomenal athletes in a great venue, Beacon Theater, and there was no other divisions. All eyes were on bodybuilding. Like I said, it was Game 7. It was on. It was exciting. You had new guys, 40 guys in the open, and he always brought some European guys, and he just spiced it up. He put a little wax on the car, and it was you never knew what he was going to do, but he had a great field. But I would say he was a great promoter. I would never say nothing negative about Wayne Demilly. I thought he brought a lot of excitement, and he seems to love the sport. So that's really what matters.
Definitely. One thing that a lot of people say, and I think it's true, would you say it's an accurate statement that muscle development is really strong in the Northeast? Would you say that's a fair statement?
Yes, absolutely. Yep, that's true.
Okay. And then with regards to training, I mean, this is kind of funny, but some people would say it's totally true. Do the folks on the East Coast train harder than the West Coast, do you think?
I think because of the high taxes, people are more angry here. So, yeah, no, I think bodybuilding where I grew up on Long Island, it's still pretty, people love it. Just like Jersey. Jersey's got a bunch of old gyms. I don't know how they survive, but Apollon Gym, they're still around. So I think I think East Coast is just a more intense place, and that's why the Night Champions was so cool, because that intensity was, you'll never see a show like it. It was totally different. I couldn't describe it to you. It was intense, but yeah, East Coast guys. I mean, I think everybody trains pretty hard though.
And I think you and I have a lot in common in the sense that, you know, we both love the history of the sport. And one thing I was so sad to see was, you know, eventually, I mean, originally Flex Magazine and Muscle and Fitness merged. Now neither one exists, at least not on paper. Muscle Mag, you know, Robert Kennedy
Yeah.
passing, that went away. I mean, you know, Steve, you know, MD is the last of the Mohicans, and it is a purely bodybuilding magazine. But what do you think about that, about the sort of the demise of the magazines? Because I always thought there was room for magazines and digital.
It's hard. I mean, I find I'm 54 and I find it hard to read something, which is embarrassing, but it's true. But the magazine era was unique. I think for some people like to read books and all that, but the internet's made us all pretty lazy with that. But the magazine era was it was great because the athletes were just like gods. I mean, you never even heard them talk. You see them in the magazines. And Robert Kennedy, I bought all the magazines, and it was special because you didn't have the internet. I like the internet. Things do change, and you got to kind of go with it. At my age, I like the internet. I like the way it was as a young man. I grabbed that magazine and I would read it head to toe right away.
Yeah, I mean, I still have them in my office here, and I read them all the time. It's like a time capsule. You know, you transport it back in time, and some of the magazines, like Muscle Mag, I think had like a second run. It wasn't quite the same, you know. And then Iron Man is still around, but that's a completely different magazine now. It's not NPC, and it's not even really. It's like a natural bodybuilding thing. And what do you think about that? I'm just curious. Like, I mean, natural bodybuilding sounds very good, but a lot of people say it's nowhere near as exciting as, you know, I guess enhanced.
Yeah, I think the best, what I'm a fan of and I grew up on was rational bodybuilding. And that is just the guys I knew, they trained as hard as Brandon Curry or anyone else, but they had full-time jobs and they dieted, they had families. So it was a hobby, but they knew they'd never be pro. But they hit the stage just as shredded as anyone and do their job. So I think if you just understand, it's an individual choice. Forget the federations. You want to see the freaks and the big guys, and you want to see the best. There's no question. But for the average guy like myself, you really got to have the right mentors and understand that it's very elite. You can see it at the Olympia. Top guys, the structures, the muscle bellies. It's incredible. I just think the sport. I'm for education, and just educate yourself. If you like training, just keep going. Why not? You might not be Mr. Olympia. Boy, did I want to be Mr. Olympia, but you got to be reasonable, and you could still, I think, find something in the game that serves you well and doesn't hurt you.
And with regard to like your relationship to like some of the biggest names in bodybuilding, I mean, you're friends with all of them, and not like, people might walk up to a pro and say, "Hey, what's up?" And the pro might recognize them, but that's still not a friend. I mean, you're actually friends with these guys. Like, how do those friendships happen? Do they evolve over time, or do you just hit it off right away, or is it each one a different story?
I have no idea. It's a great question. I mean, the person I am friends with, ironically, he would say I was friends with him, was Sean Ray, and I met him in '96. But the guys are just generally really nice to the fans. I mean, I found that anyway. Granted, I want to love them. I say great things about them because I'm a true fan. I'm a true, I see a bodybuilder and I'm done. I love it. And, the guys are great. Sean Roden, Flex Wheeler, all the guys are great. I think they know I've been around this forever, but I truly do love it. I try to keep it as positive as I can. But at the end of the day, I still love training and I love meeting people and, hitting it off with certain guys. I never tried to be somebody. Like, I just happen. I don't know how to explain it. I just enjoy it.
Right. So tell us one last thing I want to ask, because I have some questions here for you that I want to ask, and I want those questions to get as much time as mine, obviously. But how happy are you to see that the Miss Olympia is back? I mean, here's a division that for the women started it all, but like about 6 years ago they were pretty much like giving it its last rites. It was pretty much dead. And Jake Wood, Wings of Strength, they've been able to do some amazing things, and now it's going to be back at the Olympia.
I think it's great. I mean, obviously, Linda Murray is involved with that, and Jake Wood, of course, is saving the Olympia because he's a passionate fan. I think it's fantastic because they sold out the Felt Forum years ago with just the women. So, and there was a lot of great women, Laura Cravell back in the day, but I'm sure there's some great athletes that they can find, younger ones, It just depends on what they're looking for. You know, it comes down to the judging and what they're looking for. Women's had it hard because the men's change a little bit, but the women, it goes up and down the standard. They don't know what to do. And it's hard to be feminine and have muscle. That is a hard thing to swing. And I think that's asking a lot. I think it's been challenging. I think it will remain to be challenging going forward because you want that perfect mix. And how many Linda Murrays are there? One, you know?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Okay, Mayor, I got some questions here for you. So I'll go ahead and ask you and, answer however you'd like, however long it takes, This one's from Sean Ray, who you said would be your one true friend there. And he wants to know how many, this is him speaking, so quote, how many Mr. Olympia titles should I have won, end quote.
All right. One for sure, I think 94, and maybe 96. 94, no question about it. He should have won that. He just looked incredible. But, people say, I hate the term small bodybuilder. That is ridiculous because look at Hadi Choopan. It doesn't matter. There's no such thing as a small bodybuilder. It's what you look like when you take your shirt off. And he's a great bodybuilder. But, yeah, that one, 94 for sure, and probably 96. So, but 94 definitely. He looked great, and it's not against anybody. I mean, look at how he looked. And he had a thicker chest than Yates, better front thighs. I mean, people never associate, thickness. Sean's a pretty thick guy. He's not a little, slightly built guy like a Labrada. He's pretty densely packed. So I think it's kind of, I just hate the term small bodybuilder. I think it's ridiculous.
Okay, good stuff. This question here, there's two of these. And this one comes from Chris the Goon Griffin. And he says, why do you think Nick Walker can win the Chicago Pro?
Because he's everything they're looking for. Huge, shredded, full, and hard. And I only saw pictures, but if bodybuilding had gambling, I put a good amount of chips in the corner for this kid because he has everything they're looking for in modern bodybuilding. He's the quintessential modern bodybuilder, and he's got a way stronger back than Hunter Labrada. A lot of detail. He has almost nothing left to do except show up, tan, and pose. I'm not saying he's going to win the Olympia, but all these smaller shows, he's going to be a factor in every one of them. No question about it.
Wow, that's a good answer. And the second question from the Goon is, who will make your Olympia shirt?
All righty. Well, usually it's just who's in the show, obviously, the Mr. Olympia contest. But the whole shirt idea, when the guys used to turn pro, that was kind of my idea. But my nickname, as far as my nickname, they didn't ask that. But someone gave me the nickname, and then I was crazy enough to think, what if I wear my screen name around at the shows, people will get to know me. And I thought that'd be cool. It's crazy, but I thought it'd be cool. But all the Olympia athletes are on there. I generally do put them in order of who I like, and I do okay. Predictions. I think predictions are fun. I think that's one of the best parts of the sport, predictions.
Right. Well, the other day, Mark Lobliner was on his live there. And his prediction is that Phil will be third. And my prediction, I know this is going to really piss off a lot of Phil fans, but I don't think he's going to make the top five. I mean, I think it'll be very close. But look at Jay Cutler in 2013. I mean, Jay Cutler had a much less serious injury than Phil, and he barely got sixth place. But that's just me. And okay. So this one here, I don't know if you had anything else to say on your shirt there for Chris. You're good?
No, I just gave a little background of who the mayor is. The guy gave me the name, but it's pretty funny, the history of it. But I really was so naive going on those boards. I'm like, I'll meet all these fans. And I met about 20 people off those boards just because I was a fanatic. And it was ridiculous, but it worked out.
Yeah, for sure. And I totally should have asked you about the mayor question. I figured everybody asked you that. So I was like, but yeah. And the thing is, people refer to you as that. You go on the live, like PJ Braun's lives, for example, and everybody calls you the mayor of bodybuilding. That is who you are. You are the mayor of bodybuilding, So I think that's awesome. I think that's great branding. That's amazing branding.
It's fun.
Like Palumbo named me the Iron Duke. I don't know why. I think he was just joking around. And I've had promoters at shows say the Iron Duke is your, I feel ridiculous because I'm fat, but I'm like, okay, I'm the Iron Duke. It's good branding, All righty. So this one comes from Ron Harris.
All right.
Online editor-in-chief, and I think Ron's done some fantastic things with MD Online. I mean, David Bay did good things, and Adina did good things, and Palumbo started it. But I think Ron is really, really, out of all of them, I personally think Ron has done amazing work. He says, what do you miss most about the old days of bodybuilding?
I think it's hard to say in the gym. I miss working in with people, training with people. I miss that back in the day. They had that a lot more. People on their phones more. And like I said, I'm not Dorian Yates, but I think I can do 40 minutes and just get away from this crazy world and get a pump going and all that. But as far as that, I miss the Night of Champions. If I had to say one thing, because that show, like if you went there as a journalist, you would be like, you'd know you're in for something special, because the electricity was out of control. Even Dorian Yates said it before he came to New York. He said they were either going to love me or hate me. And it's exciting to just feel that electricity. Other shows bigger and whatnot, but that show was, I don't know, man, it was just a whole different breed altogether. But that's what I miss, probably working in with people, and just, the online could be a little negative, and I try not to be negative myself.
Good. So the next question is from the Boston, Mass, Jose Raymond, and it's a very short question. He wants to know, who is your favorite bodybuilder from Boston?
Wow. I guess, obviously Jay is the obvious answer, but, I got a lot of favorite people, but Jay's up there, obviously, not because he asked the question. Jose is an outstanding guy and tremendous bodybuilder. DeMeo was great, back in the day, but I'd go with Jay. But he's right there, man. He's a really good guy, and something in the water up there. They have Matarazzo too, right?
For sure. Yeah,
good guys.
And it's that whole Northeast, and it's Rhode Island in there too, and New York, Connecticut. It's just like, you got so many great gyms too. It's just,
Jersey.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the last guest question is Greg Valentino, and he had 3. Actually, he had more than 3. He had like 10, but I had to pick. Yeah. He said to say hello, and he says, you're one of the realest people, in the industry. So I think he had like 30 questions for you. But the first one he had that I thought, one of these 3 really popped out to me. Who impressed you more? He says, Rich Piana or Mr. Olympia?
Oh, Mr. Olympia.
Okay.
Easily. My top Olympians would be Arnold, Sergio, Lee Haney, right? Those 3. That impresses me like that. I didn't really follow Rich, and I'm not against him. I have no problem with people making a buck, but I don't think he's responsible for anyone else. But I just think I'm just more of a straight up bodybuilding guy. So yeah, Mr. Olympia, man. I revere those guys big time.
The second question, if you could only go to one event, which would it be, the Arnold Classic or the Olympia?
It's so close. Probably the Olympia, only because I went last year and the expo wasn't as big as the Arnold, and I like that. And plus they had the Legends booth. I like that.
Nice.
And it wasn't 10 degrees out. So I like that. It was more bodybuilding centric. And I got to meet all the older guys, Mike Christian, all these guys, Tony Pearson. It was like a freak show in there, and I loved it. But I like the more scaled down. The Arnold, like in 2001, that's the first one I went to. That was good. Got too big and too many non-bodybuilding fans. Not that I'm against it, but I like it to just be more zoned into that. It's more enjoyable, less crowds.
The third question that he asked was it just came off of the last question or a few questions back. He says, how do you feel about the new divisions, or are you a bodybuilding purist?
I'm a bodybuilding purist, but I understand, things change. I obviously love the 212. I think that's one of the best things they came up with, because everyone's always bashing like the IFBB does nothing right, but the 212, 202 is something really right, like right on the ball. And I think classic, I don't follow classic physique, but obviously there's guys like Peterson coming out of there. So I think it's a good division. And but I'm not, I never watched bikini. I like fitness, but I'm a bodybuilding fan. But I understand these guys got bills to pay, and I think classic is just rolling with the times. It's 2020, and not everybody wants to be humongous. Like Sean Ray said back in 2001, not everyone could be a 300-pound bodybuilder, and that was pretty good foresight, because that's true. And now I think the divisions are okay. I just watch the bodybuilding, but I'm not against it. Bikini, but the rest of the athletes are quite good. I'm for it. They got to make money, so I'm for it.